Woody,
Yo,
what's up, man?
how you doing?
Great to be here today, man. Thank you so much for taking some time to chat. Today we find ourselves in Darlington, Maryland at Autumn Revival. At this point, you've been all across the world to both perform and explore. Have you ever taken any moments of inspiration or with you for your travels into the studio or the project itself?
Absolutely. When I was living in Australia for a while, took a lot, I feel like, from the natural landscape, and I brought up a couple concepts home. There's one that was like return to source, which is what I named one of my EPs, and it was like this idea that everything like comes from the earth and then has its life cycle, and it's like cyclical and then goes back to where it came from. Named a whole EP after that.
Another journey you've been on, Woody, is one of sobriety. It sounds like you've been abstaining from alcohol for how long now?
It's been a little over 2.5 years.
And so what went into this decision, and what kind of benefits have you seen from it?
I wanted first to say that I'm not like fully sober, and I don't want to conflate that because that's a whole different ballgame, and I don't want to like, I don't know, not step on any toes, but like offend anybody, I guess. Not offend anybody either, but whatever. But yeah, I smoked weed. But basically what made me decide that was I was just not happy. I was really sad all the time. And I realized that I was kind of falling behind in ways that I think it was only perceived by me, but I could see a lot of my friends achieving more success, and like their music was getting better, and I was kind of wondering, like, how do I do that? And I kind of realized that they're just working like more than I was, working consistently, and they're working harder. And I kind of looked at why I wasn't working and why I wasn't able to work. And it was because I was always hungover and like dealing with the emotional burden of trying to get through, and like dealing with the guilt and shame that comes along with just going too far all the time.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of like, for me to incite a change in my life, I always have to go through something really negative and like kind of maybe for me feel like I'm down in the dumps, for me to be able to like actually
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, alcohol, it's literally called a depressant, and it's like meant to numb your sensations and your feelings, and it's feelings like that I think people take into their creativity and stuff. So it's almost like you're shutting off a window of like inspiration.
Yeah.
Almost when you drink alcohol.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's definitely like that. I don't think it's like that for everybody, but I do think like the time sink thing is definitely a huge blockage for creativity, just not being you for like longer and longer as you get older, like just taking yourself out of the ability to create. I feel like a lot of creativity comes from just showing up over and over again, and like it's the likelihood of like this inspiration striking you while you're actually in the studio goes up a lot if you're always in the studio.
Yeah.
And I found that I was just not in the studio because I was always recovering.
So this is something I think that's much easier said than done, especially for someone who's just kind of living, I guess, your typical civilian life or whatnot. For someone who's like an artist who's around, whose job is essentially to be the party and be around at a party, this could be something that could be insanely hard. So I wanted to ask you if you had any advice for like aspiring artists or just artists who are still like top artists right now, ways to kind of avoid temptation on the road and whatnot. Yeah. And ways to just stay healthy and avoid kind of sinking into those demons and whatnot.
Yeah. I don't know if the way that I did it is like the way that works for everybody, but I kind of just isolated for a while. I knew that I wouldn't be able to trust myself in certain situations, so I just didn't allow myself to be in those situations, which is difficult, and it's like isolating. It's just not like fun necessarily to work on yourself like that. I will say it gets easier, and like staying healthy on the road also gets easier with just like small amounts of research. I find that like having some good friends to talk to also really helps. But yeah, I mean, it's really about like the biggest like catalyst for me was just like a mindset thing. It was like, I'm done with this. And it's really hard at first because like everything in your brain, social programming is telling you that you're not done with this. But like when you actually start to make the decisions and like you kind of get in the driver's seat a little bit, with that aspect of your life, like that starts to kind of become maybe a dopamine blast.
Yeah.
I said no, and you're like, fuck, I didn't actually need it. Like, and you get a little bit better at maybe checking in with yourself and asking yourself, like, how do I feel right now? Like, and if it's not good, like, let's deal with that. But maybe let's think before we just reach for the quickest numbing age.
Definitely the shortcuts.
Yeah.
The shortcuts. And yeah, I think it's about kind of taking that extra step to say like, okay, where am I right now? And kind of reframing your perception.
Yeah.
I think what that does, it literally chemically changes your brain function and what you, like you said, all right, am I going to get dopamine from this quick sip, or am I going to get dopamine from finishing this track, mastering this track I'm working on, or for me personally, going on a run or something like that. So that's incredible perception, and I love that. Speaking of life on the road, you have been spent quite a bit of time on the road and touring for the past like year or so. I think, as we mentioned, you were one of our breakout artists at Reese Dance. Part of that was just because of this insane kind of run of shows you've been on.
Yeah.
So plays at Cervantes, Burning Man, Red Rocks, your headlining tour, and with Daily Bread. Would you mind sharing maybe like one or two of your favorite moments or memories from recent tours?
Yeah.
Besides this one.
Yeah.
I know.
I wouldn't trade anything for that. I think the Red Rocks play was really special because my mom and dad came out for that one. And my dad comes out for a lot of shows, but my mom, nothing against her, but she just like doesn't really like loud music in an intense environment. And Red Rocks is like a pretty intense environment, and plus you're at altitude. But it just meant a lot that they showed up. My cousin John actually came as well, and it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Also, touring with Daily Bread is really awesome. Learned a lot from him in the ways of like how to navigate like green room situations. He's got a bunch of cool hacks. Like,
because is he also melting?
I don't know what his deal is. I know that when we were on tour together, he was really good at managing his consumption. So he would basically not be partying at all. But we had like really early nights and early mornings rather, and like late nights. So just in that scenario, like one of us is driving and it's just difficult. Like you're dealing with the drinking in the interior would have been difficult. Yeah. I'm grateful that he was on the same sort of wave, but I'm not sure what his choices are.
Would you mind breaking into a little bit more about your relationship with Rhett? And is there any significant advice he shared with you during this time spent, or maybe just your perception of him and maybe some things you admire about Rhett?
There's a lot that I admire about Rhett. We don't really like. He's my homie, and we text every now and then. But we don't have like a super tight relationship by any means. But he definitely, I don't know. The way that he treats people with humility and just grace seems like is admirable. And I also was not expecting him to be such like a wide source of music knowledge in general. Like the guy knows like...
Dude loves crate digging.
Yeah, just like knows so much about music, and a lot of his songs are making connections like through the artists that he's using and what their songs are talking about. He like will weave a web through all this stuff in a really interesting way. And it's something that I wasn't privy to before I was on tour with him, how deep the lore kind of goes. And that's pretty cool. I think that's like a neat thing to try to cultivate, like building your own deep lore and giving people like these, like however hard you want to look into this track, you're going to find more and more cool, analogous like relationship
stories. Yeah. I love that because it really is, and something I admire about kind of the PL ride is it's like it's time traveling in real time.
Yeah,
he's bringing us back to these different moments in time with music, and using that as the vessel. It really is like transporting through time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so staying on kind of the subject of tour, who would you say are some of your biggest support systems while you're going on tour?
I've got a friend, Daniel Firth, who taught me how to DJ. And he is a few years older than I am. We went to the same college, and he's like got 2 kids. And like we talk multiple times a week, and I can always just like unload Steve with him, and he does the same with me. And it's like kind of like a no judgments thing. And if we're just like feeling fed up, like, and I know that I can't bitch like to my partner about it, like, or just like maybe something I've bitched about 1,000 times, but I'm currently going through again.
Yeah.
He's always there for me for that. Definitely. And
yeah, friends like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then other artists I find first like support on tour, like other artists who have been through it and that like understand that it's not necessarily like sunshine and rainbows the whole time, and a lot of it is just like kind of grueling in a way. But like Becca, Vale, like I've reached out to her before and talked to her about like how she does it because she's playing so many shows. Just other artist friends.
Nice.
Yeah, help.
Nice.
Because I don't know. Like creating is always better than complaining, but when you want to complain, like, you know, it's just nice to have somebody to understands. Like, wait, what?
It's human, dude. You need to let out some frustrations, and I think that if you don't find healthy ways to let that out, they turn into unhealthy ways.
Absolutely.
You know. So yeah. Another probably support system which you may forgot to mention is your management. Oh, was it until this right? Who's guy over there? I'd love to hear about as someone who's probably experienced like a bunch of different managers, agents, and teams in the past.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a good manager? And as a second and kind of third question to that, what should artists look for in a manager? And also, what should an artist do for themselves first? And let me know if you knew your people.
Yeah. Okay. I was always under the assumption that you needed like an agent, and that's what I went for first. And now that I've kind of like been through the cycles, I would try to maybe rephrase that. And I think what you're looking for in a manager changes like during the course of your career. Like maybe at the beginning, it's like somebody, a close friend that like really cares about what you're doing and keeps checking in with you about it, and like has an interest just because they care about you. I found that to be pretty helpful at first. And actually, Daniel, who I was talking about before, was kind of that at the very beginning. Just somebody that believes in you. But I've had a bunch of different teams, and I feel like what I like about my current team is that Adonis always is coming up with ideas. Like there's something other than me coming up with ideas, and like it takes some of the pressure off, even if I don't like the ideas. Like I can just like be like, no, I don't like that. No, I know what I don't want to do.
Yeah. We're meant to suggest, right? Suggest and educate.
Yeah, I'm like, you're being for real. Like, yeah, having somebody that's actually like thinking about the project like takes some of the weight off of your brain, I think. And somebody that you can bounce ideas off of. Like a lot of the times I just don't know the scope of like where the project is for certain markets, and I will have a negative reaction to like maybe an offer or like something that's going on, and like they provide perspective that I wouldn't have otherwise as to like why these decisions are being made or like what's happening. And I find that just like helps steady your head onto like a realistic level.
Yeah. So yeah. I've noticed that they're meant to suggest and guide, not command. And what?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I like to tell my artist friends this, but like the management and the agent like work for the artist at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I mean, always go with the hat.
Yeah.
But like, definitely, if you're gonna be working with somebody, like, you have to listen to them. Like, so there's both sides. Like you have to actually, if you're gonna pay somebody to like give you ideas, then should utilize the ideas. Or find somebody else,
That's going to quote you on that. Next time you come back for him, he's going to quote you on that. Be like, wait a second. I just play it back.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Soundbite.
Listen to my man. Love it. So Woody, we've been chatting a lot about journeys.
Yeah.
During this conversation. Perhaps one of the biggest journeys you've embarked on recently, as well as myself, is one of fatherhood.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to chat a little bit about what becoming a father has done to your creative inspiration, firstly, and then also what it's done to just your perception in life and the world in general.
Yeah, totally. At first, it like freaked me out before he was here for like a good 2 weeks, and I was like, I need a different job. Like I need to do everything.
Maybe going to college.
Everything's gonna be different. I'm never gonna be able to do this. And then like management was like, I think that you will be able to do this, and we've got other people that do this, and like it's definitely doable. And then once I got my head on straight, like coming to terms with what reality was going to be, it's just been like an insane, remarkable driving force. Like this, like I want to just do this as well as I can for as long as I can to show my son that like what's possible, essentially, like how good we can do if we just try hard. Which obviously is kind of like a fairy tale, and everybody has different levels of luck and everything, but like still gonna give it my all to see what we can build out of this. And also just like a lot of motivation to do better, like to pay the bills as well. There's that.
Facts.
Yeah.
I can definitely resonate with the fact that it's like, all right, time to get to work.
Yeah.
I had a couple of things that like I wanted to do musically and whatnot. One was starting a music label, one was, becoming a legitimate agent and manager. And I was like, all right, Max, it's like, it's time to get to work.
Yeah.
You can't wait for your dreams to happen, especially when you said, like, we want these dreams to start paying some income.
Yeah.
We better get to work.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a kick in the ass, and I can definitely resonate with that as well. So have you, like, started him with any, like, exposure to music or anything like that? Like, obviously he has the best teacher right here.
We've got his little heel spinning back the CDJs. He's doing, we put our fingers up, like, ahead of time. We give him 5, and then he has to kick it.
Let's go.
No.
I mean, like, toys and stuff. Like, like
little musical toys. I'm probably going to get one of those blip boxes. But
yes, dude, I want to get the blip box. I think I'll play with that more than I
was going to say, yeah. Going to go into the songs for sure.
Really? Wait, are you serious?
I don't know. Yeah.
That's sick.
Probably.
You better get a feature on them at the end. You better get some credits.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing concerning the little ones, one kind of fear of mine, or just kind of one concern of the many that has sprouted with having a kid, is the digital world, and social media.
Yeah.
And, it's a double-edged sword, social media is. You can use it to promote yourself. You can use it to grow your business. But you can also use it to stay up late and drive yourself crazy, comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
Or, any of the other kind of pitfalls of social media and the internet.
Yeah.
As someone who has balanced spending time in the studio, into the project, or so it seems from this side, and social media as well, and also done it authentically.
Yeah.
What kind of advice do you have for artists who are trying to approach this digital world, as artists and not people who are content creators and whatnot? What advice do you have for them in approaching this really authentically in the same way that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I would say don't be afraid to be cringe, because you're probably not as cringe as you think you are, and even if you are, like, who cares? It's always going to be somebody more cringe, and like if people have like a problem with you, it's a reflection of them. If somebody is judging you, that's coming from a place of that, like their social programming, it's like as hippie dip as it sounds, like we're a reflection of each other. And at the end of the day, and if somebody is upset with you for being yourself, that's fully on them. I would also say, like, the way that I do it is not the way that you need to do it. You don't need to put your face all over the screen all the time, and what works for one person doesn't work for another. Like, there's tons of different ways to be social media, and you can just do research by, like, searching your favorite topic and seeing what people are talking about, and then, like, copying what other people do it, kind of. So, like, there's lots of different ways that you can do it without being cringe, but don't be afraid to do that. And I would say, don't overlook the free marketing.
Yeah,
like you can get, with now, like, this day and age, you can get like millions of views from just talking to the camera. I've never done it, but you can.
Yeah.
And like, it's a really powerful tool. So people that like avoid it just because it's like not what they want to do, I fully get that. It's not what I want to do either, but it's an incredibly powerful tool, and it's, in my opinion, would be foolish to not try to integrate it in some way when it's such a powerful way to disseminate information.
Yeah, it's necessary for sure. So you mentioned this topic about cringe and, like, people not trying to be cringe. I think is something with the digital world has created is everyone's trying to be too fucking cool.
Nah.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue on dance floors.
Yeah.
And yes, there's substances that are making people less stale and whatnot, but I also think people are afraid to dance and get a little freaky because of perception online. And there's this image of being too cool. Yeah. And I think that people need to shake that. And
I mean, it's difficult to shake when you're, like, feeling like you're perpetually observed. Like, I feel like I've been to a wedding before where, like, everybody's on the dance floor and everybody's jiving, and then the wedding photographer comes, like, really, I don't know, like a bull in a china shop, like, just clumsily into the dance floor, like, has a flash and is flashing people, and everybody stops dancing. So I feel like the constant sharing of information might have to do with it for sure. But yeah, I don't.
Maybe a little bit on that photography.
Yeah, a little bit on the photography.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think like that's kind of been one of my things for like a long time is trying to make music that is silly, trying to make content that's silly, trying to just like shed the idea that we need to be cool all the time, because like it's definitely limiting to how much fun you can have if you're worried about being cool. And you know, sometimes the crazy guy that's dancing, if he looks crazy when he's one person, but then like a whole crew of other people come up and start dancing with him, all of a sudden he's not so crazy. Yeah, and all of a sudden everybody's cool. So
It's funny.
it's always, you have to express yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like there have been instances where like I've met some of those crazy guys dancing, and I go up and like introduce myself, and then you later find out like they're totally sober.
Yeah.
Or something, and like that's their thing, you know?
Like an astrophysicist.
Exactly.
It's just okay.
And it's like that dude is so like, I think it shows like their intelligence. Like they want to have fun, and they want to express themselves, and they want to be free. And so I think that's the testament to that.
It's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to like get to a point where you want to shake around and be acting crazy without crutches.
Yeah. Hopefully we can start moving towards that direction, but maybe some ways to go. Let's now step away from the digital world. Let's look around us right now. We're in a beautiful environment. Let's just unplug for a second. Breathe the oxygen. We're at a beautiful place right now at a beautiful event.
Camp Ramblewood.
Camp Ramblewood, baby. I'm thrown by some people who are friends of mine and who I think are some friends of yours.
Yeah.
So, before we break into that, though, I think all of us have been to festivals, big and small, right?
Yeah.
I think there's something personally special about smaller boutique festivals that just make it a little bit more intimate and a little more cool. What do you love about smaller festivals like this?
I like that you can meet somebody and then like you'll see them later that day, and you can actually cultivate like a bond. And those are the experiences where like if I see somebody 4 times throughout the day, we like get to have a conversation here, a conversation there, and connect, then you actually might remember them later. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like you come into terms, like you not come into terms, but you come into contact people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to, probably. And since there's fewer people there, you're actually going to talk to them.
More authentic.
Like, yeah, instead of just like kind of doing the same thing that you always do. I find is fun about the smaller festivals. And I also find that like the attendees care a little bit more sometimes because they like have a sense of camaraderie. It's like, we're out here together. We're the ones doing this, so we're going to have a good time, rather than kind of like letting it be up to, you know, the forces that be or the production or whatever to make sure you have.
Being more cordial, you know, walking through a crowd, you know, you're not going to bombard through it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to throw a bunch of bows if, you know, you're going to have to like turn around and talk to the guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Force you to be nice.
It sucks that has to be for some people, but
well, I don't think it's like a force. I think it's just like a natural phenomenon. Like I don't think people want to be shitty, and I don't think people inherently are shitty. Like I think that huge crowds like that kind of breed that sort of behavior. Like once you get into like a huge thing, you kind of like remove the humanity from the humans around you, because you become part of this big crowd. You stop realizing that these are people around you, and it's a lot easier to realize that the people around you, like the people, if there's like only 100 of them, or 500 or 1,000, even like under 5,000.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion that needs to be had even further. You know, just about how to operate in a crowd. But maybe another day for that.
Kids, no shoving. You say,
no, seriously though, like please, you know, like where to blow your cigarette smoke.
Yeah,
like seriously though.
Yeah, I mean, like just make sure I always say at the end of my sets, it's like take care of each other. Like you're around a bunch of people, you're there to create this experience together. And like as much as the DJ is a part of the show, so are the people around you.
Yeah.
And like you're all here to create this together, and you might as well create something beautiful.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, still staying on the topic of Autumn Revival, I know you've worked with good productions here and there.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about working with the people who are involved with this festival? And feel free to name names.
Yeah. I really like Natalie and Saul. They're great. And the Couch Collective guys too. Zach is great. They're all just like passionate about what they do and focused on sound, which I think is important. And yeah, just a sense of community I felt. I haven't worked with them extensively, but I just found that they're nice people.
Likewise, they're great people. Well, Woody, I know that they're just as grateful as they are for you, as you are for them, as they are for you. Before we sign off, do you have anything you want to share with us coming up? Release plans?
Yeah.
Future news?
Yeah. I've got an EP coming out. Probably like, I don't know, now.
Oh yeah. Woody,
Yeah.
thank you so much, man. I appreciate chatting, dude.
Thanks.
Cool.
Cheers.
And cut.
Yeah.